Ladies and gentlemen, man, there's a new Aaron in town, and he's already making a statement. Aaron Glenn, as you already know, and Darren Mougey had their official press conference just yesterday. And we got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. And I'm not going to lie to you, man, I'm already liking the vibes. Maybe it's the homer in me. I'm not too sure. Nevertheless, we're going to talk about it.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
But here's what I do know. We're the freaking...
Yo, check it out. Listen, I got to go ahead and obviously update my my intro song, right? The whole sauce with Salah, that's obviously old news. I'm going to have to get on the editing tool this week, and I'm going to have to probably swap those two things out. Aaron Glenn, I think, just made a statement. I think he did. I think that a lot of individuals who was looking at this as potentially being another Coach Salah hire or Rex Ryan hire, or however you want to look at it, you have to look at the way he carried himself, the conversation, the way Darren Mougey and him seem to be on the same page, the way Woody Johnson kind of expressed himself about stepping back. I think a lot of those things coming into play kind of makes you aware of this is Aaron Glenn's team now. This is legitimately Aaron Glenn's team. And I think there's a lot to be excited about. I definitely understand if you're an individual who's concerned about, oh man, what if like it's just a repeat of what we've seen over and over and over again. A lot of individuals seem to be traumatized, man. Like, let's be honest, Jets fans are traumatized. They're terrified of the same old outcome from what we've done time and time and time before, right? We've done this thing where we've had the first time defensive-minded head coach, whether it was Rex Ryan, whether it was Coach Salah, whether it was Bill Parcells. It never resulted in the promised land, getting to the Super Bowl. But there's a different swagger about a guy who's done it at the highest level. There's a different swagger about a guy who came into this league as a premier pick, played like lived up to expectations. He wasn't a scrub, lived up to expectations, and has been able to kind of work his way up the ranks, so to speak, to arrive at this opportunity. So a lot of individuals are worried about it. Some of you guys are excited. Some of you guys are on the fence. Some of you are just like, no. I've seen some people talk about fire Aaron Glenn already, which I think is utterly ridiculous. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it. But first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sharing your time with me tonight. I really appreciate it. It's obviously episode 40 of the Hangar Hangout. We're going to talk about the new regime at One Jets Drive, but I want to give a special shout out to Connor and Wildwave for being supporters of the channel. They were the winners of the last two shows giveaways, one of them being an autographed jersey and the other one being an autographed mini helmet. I want to thank those guys. They got their gear. The CJ Mosley jersey arrived to Connor. The Sauce Gardner jersey arrived to Wildwave. The autographed mini helmet arrived to Wildwave. So I appreciate you guys making sure that it got there. Thank you. I hate when stuff gets lost in the mail, so it makes me feel good that you guys got those things. So I just definitely want to go ahead and say thank you to Bash Babe Events for sponsoring our giveaways. Special shout out also to Gino the Italy Jet for the great deals on Jets memorabilia that he's been able to go ahead and find and send my way. So I'm trying to go ahead and get to 2,000 subscribers before the season kicks off. Like, that's the goal this year. I've never really been one to kind of jump on here and talk about sub and likes, and I feel like that's on me. That's my fault. I haven't asked you guys for your support. The majority of individuals who watch this content, whenever I look at the analytics, a lot of you guys aren't subscribed. So Again, if you enjoy the content, you know what I'm saying, you appreciate what we're talking about here when it comes to the Jets, do me a favor and subscribe. I definitively appreciate the likes. It helps the algorithm, gets this content out there to individuals who might not know that I'm here. But we're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. And once we get to 2,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing a Joe Namath autographed jersey giveaway. Legendary giveaway. One lucky subscriber. It might be the next subscriber. It might be one of the guys who's been with me since the beginning of time. We won't know until we get to 2,000 subs. But we're going to be doing a Joe Namath autographed jersey giveaway. This is going to go to one lucky subscriber of my first 2,000. So be one of the first ones to get the 2,000. Help me out to get there, because 2001, you'll be out of luck. It'll be within the individuals who come into 2,000. So the quicker we get to 2,000, the quicker I can give away that autographed jersey. Again, Jets legend Joe Namath. It goes to whoever, or lucky winner of that 2,000. So again, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and maybe it's you that wins the jersey when we hit 2K subs. So thanks to you guys in the chat, man. There's a bunch of you guys, man, that have been just loyalists, man. Vero Beats, New York Jets, I see you. Eric Craig, I see you, man. What's good? Wild Wave, my guy, congratulations again on winning last week to that mini helmet. I see Free Squirrels in here as well. Connor, my guy, congratulations on the jersey. I'm glad you got it and you liked it. But yeah, man, appreciate you guys for being here with me tonight. But let's just jump into it, man. Like, hold on one second. My dog thinks he can go ahead and act a fool right. Sorry about that. Dogs think all of a sudden they can start barking and whining in the background like they don't know any better. Sometimes you got to remind them who the alpha is in the house. Anyway, New York Jets, Aaron Glenn. If you haven't seen the introductory press conference, you know, Aaron Glenn, Darren Mougey, they kind of jumped up there and they kind of gave a breakdown of Infrared Jets. What's up, brother? Appreciate you for being here as well. Of what this job means to them. I think, you know what? Before we talk about it, I'm gonna go ahead and play the Aaron Glenn portion of this intro press conference, because there's a component of it where I think really kind of hits home as to what it means for him to be here as a New York Jet, what we should be thinking about as Jets fans. And I think we might have nailed this one out of the park in terms of bringing in the right guy who understands what it means to this organization and this fan base. Like, he's experienced it, right? He talks about how losing in the AFC playoff game 10-0, like how much it hurt him, how he wanted to come back and just he had to run it back, like unfinished business. There were so many touch points throughout his opening presser that just showed he understood what we're going through as a fan base. It wasn't just, you know, a guy that's never been here before, happens to know of the team, or they're a fan of the team, or they like. No. This is a guy who's worn the uniform, been a part of the process, getting drafted, you know, played his heart out for the New York Jets, came back into football again after he retired as a scout for the New York Jets. And now he's, of course, the head coach for the New York Jets. So for me, I think there's a lot of value there. Some will say they don't care or they don't see what the big deal is, but there is a lot of value in a situation like this. So I'm going to go ahead and play this portion of his presser, and I think it kind of hit home to a lot of Jets fans, and I hope it resonated with the players as well that were in the building. Give me a thumbs up if you can actually see what's on the screen, because I know we've been having some technical difficulties the last couple of weeks trying to go ahead and make sure everybody saw what I was trying to play. Can you guys all see what's on the screen? Anyone? Just a thumbs up from somebody showing me that you can see what's on the screen. All right, I'm gonna play it. No one is responding for some reason. I'm not sure if the chat's blocked up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and run it. So there's more to the video if you haven't seen the whole video, but like go back and see it. I don't want to go ahead and play the whole thing. I'm not really sure if I can get hit on that or not. But either way, I wanted for you guys to hear that from the man's mouth themselves, right? I see a couple more guys jumped in. Damian Miller, what's up? Ra, I appreciate you. Audio no good. Just you howling dog. Hope you've been DKBX. See, I don't understand this. Like, all right, well then that sucks. Because that the whole purpose of that was for you to hear the audio. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm having technical difficulties left and right, it seems like. So now you can see it, but you couldn't hear it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and paraphrase, right? In essence, Aaron Glenn talked about how he really wanted to be here. Like, he spoke about how when it came to the jobs, he had a plethora of opportunities, and he's interviewed for several teams. But this is the job that he wanted. This is the job that he wanted. He wanted to be here, wanted to be a New York Jet. He addresses the players of the New York Jets, talking about, buckling up, getting ready for. Can't get hit if it's muted. Huh? Is that a thing? Did I mute this thing? Screen share. I tried to read his lips. All right, you know what? I'm going to try something different. So if it's not that, can I add a presentation? I wonder if that would be. Nope. All right, I got to obviously learn more about this software, because I feel like this shouldn't have been an issue. This video should have played flawlessly. I could hear it in my ear, which means y'all should be able to hear it, but it didn't present itself. So maybe if I do this. So you know what? Now, I feel like if I'm taking away from like his speech, if you guys don't hear it from yourselves, I see Vero Beats with the jokes. Man, I was trying to go ahead and read his lips. All right. So I'm gonna try this. Let's see if this
to any
works.
players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges becomes opportunity, gets opportunity. But here's what I do know: we're the freaking New York Jets. So we're built. Listen, I want this job. I interviewed for a number of them, but I wanted this job. When I was going to my second interview, I want to make sure this is going to be the second interview. It's going to be the first of the second interviews, because I didn't want to leave the building without shaking Woody's hand and make sure we had a contract. So I'm just telling you now, everything else was really out of it. It was all about the Jets, and it's been that way from the beginning. The organization, we've already talked.
Did you guys hear that? Okay, there we go. All right, we hear it now. Perfect. All right, so yeah, it loses value if you guys don't hear it, because I can't mimic the passion of this guy in regards to what it means for him to be a New York Jet. So that was something he spoke to us. He's speaking to the fans. He was speaking to the players. He's letting the organization know that he's serious about what it means to be a New York Jet, and that he wanted to be here. Of all the opportunities that he had, this was the one that he felt meant the most to him. So I feel like that should hold value. Now, I know a lot of individuals, they didn't want the first-time head coach. A lot of individuals didn't want the rookie. They wanted, somebody with experience. But listen, Mike Vrabel didn't want to be here. He went to the Patriots. I think Mike Vrabel was probably the only individual that I think the majority of us were all on board with. If he winds up being the coach, we were all kind of okay with that, because we kind of had an idea of what that would look like. Then we wanted a Ben Johnson, and I'll be the first to admit I wanted an offensive-minded, head coach. I feel like in the 21st century, we haven't done that. We haven't really brought in an offensive-minded guy to be the head coach for the New York Jets. I wanted to see it. The whole Adam Gase experiment wasn't real. That wasn't an offensive-minded head coach. You're not going to convince me that it was. But we gave it a try with him. It didn't work out. So I wanted a guy to come in here with an offensive mindset to try to lead us into the 21st century. But listen, the guys who had options offensively did not want the Jets job. They didn't want the Jets job. They wind up, going to the Chicago Bears. Apparently, somehow that's more of a stable organization in their mindset. So it is what it is, right? We also, I think, dropped the ball on not interviewing a couple of guys. We didn't even attempt to interview a Pete Carroll. We didn't really attempt to interview a John Gruden. Like, there were some individuals who, at the very least, warranted an interview, especially when you're talking about wanting to do your due diligence. But of all the individuals we're talking about, right, with the exception of Vrabel, only one other guy can really relate to these players at the level that an Aaron Glenn can. This is a guy, again, who was drafted by the New York Jets. He was a scout for the New York Jets, and now he's the head coach of the New York Jets. He talks about this during his opening presser and what it means to him, talking about how he still feels pain from losing that playoff game as a player here for the New York Jets and how he wants to come around full circle and make it right. That matters. That should matter because you're talking about an individual who gets it, like literally someone who gets it. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in a little while, right? We've had coaches who are motivated. We've had the rah-rah guys. We've had the all gas, all break motivational guys, right? But we've never had a guy who was this emotionally tied to this team the way we are. Let's be honest, Jets fans, as much as the only reason why this Jets team can hurt us as much as they do is because we care so damn much about this team. That we get pissed, man. We fight with each other on social media. We get devastated. We talk about how this team is trash, and the very next week we're rooting for them again. Like, it's over and over and over again. He is committed to this team the way the fan base is committed to this team. I think Aaron Glenn is probably the best thing that could have happened for the New York Jets, if we're being honest. He talks about freaking accountability, but he doesn't talk about it in the sense of like, yeah, I'm going to hold people accountable. He explains and breaks it down to where the concept of accountability can only be really taken advantage of if everyone understands their responsibility. This is a coach that understands that each player is going to have a job to do, and they have to know what that job is. And once they understand what that job is, because he feels he's communicated best to them, his coaching staff has communicated best to them, then and only then can there be accountability. And you know what? I love the way he broke that down, because a lot of times we're talking about, how the Jets messed up this, messed up that. Nobody was being held accountable, and everybody's pointing fingers. You see Sauce do it quite a bit where he was like, well, my job was to do this, but that person didn't do that. There was always somebody passing the buck off to somebody else, right? I think this is going to be, somebody said the Glennaissance, right? In terms of him coming into this building and making sure everybody is on the same page as to what is expected of them, and then holding them accountable to that. No longer can they go ahead and just pass off the buck and say, nah, it was that dude's job or that dude's job. He's going to hold individuals accountable. Now, Darren Mougey is another individual that I spoke about, briefly. I think bringing him on, he was kind of a surprise last-minute candidate. We were expecting Newmark to be the guy. But Mougey is young. He's a young general manager, man. He's 39 years old. But this is a guy that comes from, he played, quarterback in college. I think he was the backup actually to Aiden O'Connell, which is kind of a little cool story if you guys didn't know that. He was the backup to Aiden O'Connell. He played tight end and quarterback in college, came into the NFL as an undrafted free agent, played backup quarterback, I think, for the Falcons for a bit. He went somewhere else after that too. I don't remember. I think maybe it was the Saints. I could be wrong about that. But he's a guy who understands the offensive side of the football, right? And I say that because he got his start as an intern scout for the Denver Broncos. So he started as an intern scout for the Denver Broncos, and over the last 3 years, this is a guy who's gone from director of player personnel to the assistant general manager. Like, he's a kind of bit of a superstar of a fast riser, so to speak, in terms of, I'm sorry, yeah, Connor got me. It's Kevin O'Connell. Yes, Kevin O'Connell, and backed him up as well as his backup QB. But I look at him now and I think to myself, okay, so you got yourself the defensive-minded head coach and you got an offensive-minded general manager, but both of these guys, another wonderful aspect of both of these guys is they both come from a scouting background. Like Aaron Glenn talked about it again during this presser, like when he wanted to come back into the NFL, he was talking to Bill Parcells and he was talking about how, like, yeah, he wanted to come back and be a coach. Bill Parcells was just like, no, you're not going to come back as a coach. You're going to come back as a scout. Aaron Glenn apparently at first was hesitant. He didn't want to be a scout, but Bill Parcells explained to him, if you want to go ahead and be well-rounded enough to one day be a head coach in this league, you got to start off as a scout, understand what the process looks like from the bottom to work your way up. So both our GM and our head coach stem from, in the front office aspect, from a scouting background. The ability to go ahead and identify talent is going to be the only way this team can actually have sustained success. And you've got two guys at the helm who are experienced at that. They got their start in the league doing that before they've arrived to their current statuses right now in the league, whether it be the head coach and, of course, the GM. So even Darren, I think, is a great addition to this squad now, because you're again talking about two guys from different sides of the ball who have experience playing on different sides of the ball. Granted, Darren at the collegiate level, vice the NFL level, but they know what that looks like. They know what good looks like. And Darren Mougey was given credit for the turnaround that the Broncos just had. Remember, the Broncos were on an 8-year playoff drought themselves. Like they were, I think they're the third longest playoff drought in the NFL. And they just broke that. And this draft class helped them do that. The addition of Bo Nix and a slew of other players in the draft class that played and contributed meaningful minutes to this team's success this season. They broke their playoff drought. You again, two guys who have come from franchises who needed to be rebuilt from the ground up to just go from being oblivious or trash to contenders, or at least, playoff contenders. Both of them have that on their resumes. We're trying to go ahead and build this thing from scratch. And I know it would make more sense to some of you guys to bring in somebody who's done it before, right? Like somebody who's got the experience. I know some individuals were really, really high on Brian Flores, as a matter of fact. I don't understand that one. Brian Flores, to me, I would have been like, all right, we got him. But this is still a guy that I think it would have been difficult for him to put together a top-tier coaching staff. I think it would have been difficult to have a GM excited of having to work with freaking a guy like Brian Flores. Granted, what he did in Miami was respectable in terms of, overall winning record, a guy who's all about winning, wasn't going to go ahead and bend the knee when it came to being told he had to go ahead and throw games. I get all that aspect, but he's lava right now, man. Brian Flores is lava right now. The fact that he's been able to actually be in the league right now as a defensive coordinator to showcase his skills, I think, says a lot about how good of a defensive mind that he is. But owners hold grudges, and unfortunately in the league, like, they're the ones that kind of hold the reins to this. Apparently his interview with the Jaguars, I think it wasn't really an interview. Now there's some other aspects coming up to the lawsuit that's still currently active. Like, people wanted Brian Flores while this dude is still in the process of suing the NFL. The New York Jets are turbulent enough, right? I think that having brought him in because, the idea of him, holding a grudge against the Miami Dolphins would be so awesome, because he'd go to bat to make sure those guys suffered. And not to mention, he won with less, in Miami. I get all that. I understand the excitement for that. But this is a position to where relationships matter. And I feel like Brian Flores was going to be limited, hands kind of tied, based off of the current, the current atmosphere, environment of the NFL when it comes to him. So for me, as a Jets fan, I didn't think that it made sense for us to put ourselves through that turbulence while trying to go ahead and get this ship steered in the right direction. The real options that we had available to us were Mike Vrabel took the meeting, but I don't think he was ever real. The best candidate that we had interview for us was Aaron Glenn. Like, that's just the truth. He was the best candidate to interview for this job. He was a top head coach candidate in this rotation. He was a top head coach candidate last year as well. So, like, he's been in back-to-back years now where he was considered a hot target for that role. And this man chose the New York Jets. He wanted to be here. He had ample opportunity to go other places. He wanted to be here. And I got to admit, man, I think he's going to fit in extremely well. I see Miguel bring this up, and I think this is beautifully done, right? Aaron Glenn handling the media like he did during the pressure was refreshing. I feel like head coaches since Todd Bowles have been some sort of variant of gotta look at the tape. Facts. Like, in fact, I'm glad you brought it up. I downloaded this for us to go ahead and take a look at as well. But this is Aaron Glenn in terms of, again, this is the New York media. This is one of the most hot-headed, most turbulent environments to be in if you're in a spotlight in New York, New Jersey area, and you got to know how to handle these guys. And we've had dudes kind of dance around a little bit with them, in the Salas, the Todd Bowles. Like you see Rex Ryan, who would always be a little bit do too much when it came to the media. Aaron Glenn is an adult. Like we needed an adult in the building, and we have an adult in the building. Check out Aaron Glenn handling the reporters after he's already discussed it in the presser and made it known that he wasn't going to discuss it and they were still going to have conversations behind closed doors. Of course, that wasn't enough for the media. And check out his response when pushed again after he had already made himself known.
Will Aaron Rodgers be your quarterback?
You're going to continue to ask me the same question and get the same answer. We're still in evaluation mode. So for anybody else going to ask that, I'm going to give you the same answer. So don't waste your time. We're clear.
Well, let's answer that. What do you look for in a quarterback? Like, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
A winner. A winner. Mental and physical toughness. When you talk about that, you're not going to get me.
Well, let me ask you this. Parcells, I know you guys are close. He always
That's
said...
Parcells.
Okay.
I'm Aaron Glenn.
Okay, so you...
There's an adult in the building now, guys. There's legitimately an adult in the building. Aaron Glenn is going to demand excellence. He's going to demand structure. He's going to demand discipline. This is a guy who, as much as we want to hate on him because some people have found ways to look at data and stats to skew the record and say, well, this is why he should have been fired as a DC, vice being given a job as a head coach, not taking into consideration the fact that the dude had 30 different rotations on defense that started for him last year. He had, I think, 11 injured defensive players, by far the most in the NFL, and still put out a top 10 product in the NFL. The ability to adapt in this league is so key. This is a guy who proved to us last year that he's grown each and every year in the position to the point where even when he was down key players on his defense, like he lost Aiden Hutchinson, he lost a stud, a dog early in the season. That defensive line still produced. They still got after the quarterback. They still created pressure. One person didn't derail his defense. When he started losing players after player, after player, after player, starters across the board, there was at one point, they had a middle linebacker playing for them in the playoffs that had one snap all season on the practice squad. One snap. He was playing meaningful reps in the playoffs for them because they were that banged up. That's a coach who understands the X's and O's. That's a guy who understands how to adapt to turbulent situations. We haven't seen adaptability in the New York Jets organization in years. Like years. It just seems like whatever wasn't working, even though we as Jets fans were saying, hey, that's not working, we should fix it, it never got fixed. We could clearly see it, but it never got fixed. Aaron Glenn is going to be the guy that comes in when things aren't working, he's going to fix it. I feel like we're not giving that enough credit. We're not valuing that enough in regards to what he was able to accomplish this last rotation with the Detroit Lions. Again, an organization who has been booty cheeks. They've been ass cheeks, let's be honest. The Lions were trash before Dan Campbell got there. They were a laughingstock. Like, we were bad, but we could at least point and be like, hey, at least we're not the Lions. You know what I'm saying? At least we're the Browns. Like, we had that ability to say we're not the Browns or the Lions. I would love to be the Lions now. I think the majority of us Jets fans would love to be the Lions now. He was a part of that rebuild process. He was a part of that creating the culture that allowed those guys to go ahead and get to this point. I just feel like we're not taking this. We're not looking at this from 10,000 feet. We're looking at it as Jets fans who have PTSD or JTSD, Jets traumatic stress disorder. And we're not allowing ourselves to possibly see how this can possibly work out. We're only looking at it like, man, we've done this before, but we haven't. We have not hired an Aaron Glenn before. Yes, we've hired defensive coordinators for as first-time head coaches. We've not hired an Aaron Glenn before. So for me, it's ridiculous that the comparisons of him being similar to a Salah or to a Rex Ryan or to a Todd Bowles, it's unfounded. This guy has been in the trenches with these dudes, knows what they're going through, and he's proven himself with the trash organization and brought them to relevance. He was a part of that process. I can't say it enough. I'm gonna keep saying it. Actually, yeah, Connor, I'll shoot you the link, man. You can go ahead and jump on. I kind of want to get your take on how you feel about Aaron Glenn. I know he wasn't your first choice, You were very vocal about who you wanted. So I will go ahead and send you the link. I'm going to text it to you right now. Copy invite link. But yeah, so when it comes to bringing him on, for me, I'm 100% on board. Another reason why I'm a big fan of what I've seen so far in Aaron Glenn is, if I'm not sure if y'all noticed this, but Woody Johnson did a press conference as well, right? I had the video. I'm not going to play it because, again, I don't know if I'm going to get copyright strikes or stuff for playing too much of the Jets content. But I watched the presser where they were asking him questions about, Aaron Rodgers and like what was going to happen. Listen, Woody stated simply, I'm going to leave that to the general manager and the head coach. He further goes and says, whatever they decide to do when it comes to, the quarterback, the roster, the team, that's going to be on them. I'm hands off. He went to say that, in times past, I haven't been the best owner. I need to do better. I had to look in the mirror, and I realized I need to go ahead and do better as an owner. That tells me he's been reading our messages on Twitter, or at least his son Dusty has, and that's moved him to go ahead and make some better choices and standing back, get away from the team, let the people you've hired do their job. Because when he stated that, I just felt like, man, it sounds like our text or our Twitter messages have finally got to freaking Woody Johnson, because the way he broke it down, you can tell it sounded genuine. I mean, time will tell, but it sounded genuine. It sounded like a guy who was genuinely upset that it had gotten to this point. And, he realized he's too hands-on and he doesn't know much about football, right? He owns the team. That's about the extent of his football knowledge, and that he needs to go ahead and kind of step back and let those individuals that he's brought on do their jobs. Now, I think this rotation might go a bit better. Remember, Woody wasn't really in on the Saleh, the Joe Douglas hiring. He was the ambassador in England under the last Trump administration. So, like, he wasn't a part of that. He gave final approval on the back end, but he wasn't a part of that process. He's been a part of this process, very vocal about making sure he did this right, that he got the right people into the building. So if that's the case, right, now it's time for you to step aside, let these grown-ups do their job. I think Aaron Glenn is a grown-up in the building. And the fact that during the pressure when he was thanking everybody and how he was just like, yeah, when I was going to leave the building, I did not want to leave the building without, shaking. He didn't say Mr. Johnson, right? I don't know if anybody else caught that, but I'm a big individual of how things are delivered, the kind of words that are utilized. Aaron Glenn was going to say Mr. Johnson, but then said Woody. I think by saying Woody, he was kind of bringing him down a little bit to like grown man to grown man, eye to eye type of a level. Vice, a Mr. Johnson, which would obviously equate, a boss or somebody, higher up. I know it's all about respect and whatnot, but the way he was going to say Mr. and then said Woody in regards to not leave there without getting a contract, I caught on that. And I feel like Aaron Glenn has been very vocal on what he wants and what he thinks the vision can be. And I believe he potentially got through to Woody Johnson. And you, again, saw that when Woody was talking about Aaron Rodgers. Because, again, the reporters couldn't help themselves. They had to ask about Aaron Rodgers. And the first thing he said was, listen, GM and the head coach are going to make that decision. I support their decision. I need to be a better owner. I got to look in the mirror. Said all the right words to go ahead and step out of the limelight and make sure it was put on the people he put into the building. So, for me, we have adults in the building. And Wild Wave, you said it best. I commend Woody for that. As fans, that's what we want from our owner. Time will tell if he sticks to it. That's the key component. I don't know if he's going to stick to it, but I will say I respect the fact that he's either heard us as a fan base or he's been talked to by somebody, but he said it on camera so everybody could hear it. He made sure he was, whatever they decided to do with Aaron Rodgers, I supported 100%. He said that. So I do commend him for that, but I'm with you, man. I need to go ahead and see him actually follow through. And I'm glad I wasn't the only person that caught the Mr. Woody comment, because for me, that speaks volumes in the way of Aaron bringing Woody back down to his level. Now, that's not Mr. Johnson, man. We're both grown men. We're at this level. So I thought that was a good way of kind of like delivering, the admiration, the thanks, but also understanding that, like, in this particular situation, you're bringing me as a football professional to go ahead and run your operations. We're on the same page. I'm not a part of your freaking, a pharmaceutical company. I'm not a doctor, but when it comes to this football thing, I'm the shmee. I'm the subject matter expert, so we're on the same level. I actually like that quite a bit. I think it demands respect in that fashion. And again, with Woody's presser afterwards, I feel like it's kind of setting in. So we got Connor with a surprise visit in the back here. We're going to go ahead and bring Connor on. My guy, Connor, man.
Gunny, first off, thanks so much for the jersey, and I appreciate you having me on tonight.
Hey, man, no problem, man. No problem. Hey, you won it fair and square several times. You weren't on the show when you saw it, but you won that thing like 3 times in a row.
I went back and I rewind, yeah.
And I felt bad when I was like, man, if they didn't see it, unfortunately for you, you missed out. But it has to be seen. That's the rules. And then, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it's like ball don't lie. Neither did the giveaway. It was like, nah, it's going to Connor.
Yeah.
So, man, Connor, we got our head coach. We got our GM. I know you had an idea of individuals you wanted into the building. I don't think Aaron Glenn was the top of your coaches, but he's the coach.
Yep. Well, Gunny, Josh McCown was my first candidate on my list. I wanted him to be the head coach of the New York Jets for so many reasons. But to focus on Glenn, it's a move I've been on board with for such a long time, just because I knew he was going to be the head coach of this team starting all the way back when they fired Robert Saleh in October. I just thought it made too much sense for him not to be hired. The way their defense has kind of climbed the ranks, a team that was 4-13, one of the worst franchises in all of football. They still are. They still haven't won a Super Bowl. Let's keep that in mind. And then now he takes with the worst defensive unit of all, the worst defensive unit in the league, turns them to a top 5 unit in 4 seasons. History with the Jets, personnel scout player. I was expecting it. I couldn't listen to the intro presser live because I was at school, so I listened to the full thing on the bus ride home. Woody's opener was not too impressive. Glenn's part, though, really made me wake up. I was like, wow, this is eye-opening. I thought he won the press conference. Honestly, out of everyone who was introduced, I thought he did the best job. I mean, compared to Liam Cohen, that was an absolute mess. Talk about that. That's something Adam Gase would have done.
Oh, my gosh. That literally, I saw that and thought to myself, I'm getting Adam Gase vibes. And same with Ben Johnson's press conference.
I did not see it. I saw Pete Carroll and Liam Cohen.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Liam Cohen and Ben Johnson's press conference, if you watch them both, I literally was like, I'm getting Gase vibes. I got Gase vibes from both of them. I'm not saying they're going to be Gase. I'm not saying that. I still think Ben Johnson's an incredible offensive mind. I wanted Liam Cohen too. I liked some of the stuff he's done in Tampa. But in terms of, it's all about presence, right? Being the head coaching position is different from being the offensive coordinator. And to me, it's a leader. Exactly. Their pressers did not exuberate leadership or grown man like I didn't get alpha dog in the building looking at their pressers. And I'm like, that might come back to bite y'all in the butt because, I get it. You're offensive minds, but we're seeing McDaniel, who's a great offensive mind, not be the alpha dog in his building and the kind of stuff coming out of Miami right now. So I feel like there may be some regrets in those hirings. We might have dodged the bullet. Again, time will tell. But I was not a fan of neither Ben Johnson nor Liam Cohen's pressures this
that clip from Liam Cohen though, the Duval with the eyes too. That's what
with the eyes, bro. I'm like,
exactly.
We might have dodged the bullet on this one. We might have dodged the bullet.
Listening to Aaron Glenn though, I mean, we haven't. You mentioned it. You mentioned the Jets never hiring Aaron Glenn before. I'm gonna push back against that. The Jets have hired Aaron Glenn before. His name's Herman Edwards. Herman Edwards, I think, is Aaron Glenn. I think Aaron Glenn is a higher ceiling. Herman Edwards obviously finished below 500 over a few seasons as the Jets head coach, but played defensive back in the league. I mean, talk about someone, Gunny, who came in and just commanded the room. Like, we've never seen, let alone an intro presser. Like, Robert Saleh, who was here for 4 years, I don't think he was a natural leader, first off. That whole gas, no break. Aaron Glenn's born to lead. He's a natural leader. And no one was as comfortable as Glenn in his first press conference, which I really liked. He was not, you mentioned it earlier, he was not afraid of Rich Cimini. He was not afraid of the New York media. He would tell them right to their face what he was feeling. As for Darren Mougey, I'm going to be honest, I did not have him on my radar when this search first started. I was not too familiar with him. As the interview started to ramp up, I started to read up on him. I mean, it's pretty remarkable, Gunny, what he's done. Starting as a scouting intern with them in 2012. In 9 years, he went from an intern to an assistant GM. And now a GM in 2025. So were both these guys my first choices? No, but I think the upside they bring to the table is is super promising. So they might have a lower floor compared to a Thomas Dimitroff and Mike Vrabel combo, but I think they have a higher ceiling in the sense that I want these guys. The goal is, Gunny, I don't think I've had since I've been alive, I don't think there's been a head coach. Well, since I've been watching the Jets, there hasn't been a head coach tenured by the Jets longer than 4 seasons. So that's that's the goal. Come on.
Telling.
I want yeah, exactly. I want as I'm graduating college. So 2023, I think 2023, 2020, since 2032, something like that. I want this regime to still be with the Jets. That's the goal. Because I was thinking when I start high school or when I graduate high school, but I'm like, no, that's not enough. I want this to be like the
extend that. Extend
exactly.
that.
So when these
and if that's the case, that means we're on the right track. Like if
sure.
if that's the case, that means we're doing something right. The trajectory is good. I'm with you, man. I hope, you know what I'm saying, by the time you have kids of your own, that they're still the coaching staff, because I would like the Mike Tomlin treatment, right? Except win a couple of Super Bowls a couple more Super Bowls in the process.
Yeah.
I feel like this organization has endured so much bad, right? And so much inconsistency and so much turbulence that you look at the Patriots for, 2+ freaking decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looking at Andy Reid with the Chiefs now, he's not going anywhere for quite some time. The ability to go ahead and I guess establish roots in an organization, you are a sense of stability for that organization. We haven't had that. We're literally people are talking about Jets rebuild. I'm like, we've been rebuilding for over a decade now. When does it end?
14
when
seasons.
Does the rebuild make? It's too much. I don't want to hear rebuild. I want to hear course trajectory. We're going to go ahead and adjust the course trajectory a little bit to get right. And speaking of course trajectory, Damian with the question here, and I think it's a good one. Do we keep Aaron Rodgers or not? And if not, who do we get?
It's a question that has been circulating for a long time. I hope Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn have the right answer. It really depends on the context of the situation. Today, with his current contract, his current mentality, do I want him back? Definitely not. Let's say, so he's due to make he's due to make $37.5 million next season. Just from, I think his cap number actually is relatively low. I think it's around $13 million. But all these roster bonuses, these prorated signing bonuses, the void years that were all worked into his contract makes it super complicated. So the lowest paid starter right now in the league, I was reading on this the other day, is Geno Smith, $22.5 million next season. Then after him, I think it's Gardner Minshew, who's like the highest paid backup, who there's a steep drop off. I think he makes probably $12 or $13 million a year. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers takes a $15 million pay cut, becomes the lowest paid starting quarterback in the league, learns a new offensive system. Another thing is does not turn away offensive coordinator candidates. If it gets to the point, Gunny, where Nick Caley, Tanner Engstrand, all these top guys, potentially even Bobby Slowick, are going to turn the Jets OC job down just because they don't want to work with Aaron Rodgers, I think that's another sign you need to move on. He has to learn a modern-day offensive scheme. He has to realize, which I think Aaron Glenn is pretty much going to make crystal clear over when they meet, is he doesn't run the team anymore. He really doesn't. It's not about him. If he's coming back, he's going to be that veteran guy. He's going to have to be somewhat of a leader. Let's be real. I hate to admit it, but if I had to say over his tenure, has Aaron Rodgers caused more of a distraction than leader he's been? I'm going to go with that distraction/cancer category. I mean, let's be honest. The trip to Egypt, I know that gets overlooked quite often, but we can't forget. I know it was 2 days of mandatory minicamp, but just the way he kind of executed that in the sense of, let's say, I couldn't imagine Robert Saleh allowing DJ Reed to do that, and DJ Reed or someone who's another good example, like even Garrett Wilson,
Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, like any of these, of the studs. No.
But Aaron Rodgers gets that special veteran treatment. So it can't be like that. He has to learn a new offensive scheme. So under that circumstance, yes, but if he has to check all those boxes, which I think is I think there's the potential for that to happen. If I had to bet today, I think he's the quarterback next season. Mm-hmm. If not, some other options, Justin Fields, free agent. They want to bring in another veteran, a Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, Drew Lock. Not too many fun options out there. But I think that's the route they're going to have to settle for unless they want to go Aaron Rodgers. Some names in the draft I really like in the later rounds.
Jackson Dart.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie to you. I been doing some research on the quarterback, seeing if there's somebody worth taking a flyer on in the second or third, right? And I keep coming back to Jackson Dart. I mean, I haven't done all my analysis yet of all the QBs. I plan on doing a whole show with that. Actually, it might be next week. So I'm going to have Dom on. So if you want to go ahead and jump on too, by all means.
Oh yeah, I'll hop on for sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So this Jackson Dart kid, man, I just keep seeing flashes of special.
Let me pull up my report on him. I finished all the quarterbacks a few weeks ago.
So then you have So Jackson Dart, man, this is a guy that gets 6'2", 230 pounds, 25 pounds. He's built like an Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yes.
Strong arm kid. You know, I think the game that really popped for me when I was looking at the tape on him, man, was that Georgia tape. His ability, he has a really quick release, right?
Very
the dude can make all the throws. Georgia has a really, really good defense, and I feel like a lot of the little issues with him are correctable with some coaching, some minor coaching. I think his flaws in terms of accuracy, a lot of the time, the couple of throws he made where he's falling away while he's making the throw, depending too much on his arm, vice going through the mechanics. I feel like you can go ahead and get him in front of a legitimate NFL quarterbacks coach, and they're going to go ahead and allow him to go ahead and get some of those kinks out of his system. I think he has a high ceiling. Now, I do believe the floor is low. The floor is low.
Very.
But I'm looking at this kid, man, and I don't know. That Georgia game definitely put him on my radar. And as I'm watching more of his tape, I'm seeing a lot of flashes of the Georgia game. It's just very inconsistent. But to be honest, his supporting cast also isn't the best. So, yeah. That's who I'm looking at, potentially a second or third round flyer on if he doesn't get out of the first. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody takes a flyer on him in the first round, if I'm being honest.
I think a first round pick on Jackson Dart is very egregious. I know it's only one day of Senior Bowl practice, but he did not have a good day at practice from I wasn't there obviously, but just reading on Twitter and stuff. Interesting to see how that progresses throughout the week. He's certainly a really interesting one you mentioned, because I think he's someone who he kind of reminds me of Will Levis, not from like a player standpoint, but from where he is on the draft board. Like, I feel like there's a scenario where he could be like a top 10 pick for some teams, and then there's a scenario we could fall all the way to the third round. Like, I think that in the sense, and that's what happened to Will Levis. He was a front runner to be the number one overall pick in his draft class, and he wasn't even picked until the second round. So that reminds me a little bit of the Jackson Dart scenario here. Here's what I have on him. I watched 2 games on every single player for the draft. So I have him at 6'2", 225. My positives for him, above average arm strength, and he has multiple arm slots. That's one of the main things I really liked on him. Great understanding of when to throw with velocity. He adds great layers to his ball with touch and velocity. Something else I noticed, great. You mentioned this too. Great size, great build. Able to throw on the move, quick, snappy release. Said that as well. Here's some of the things I don't like. Struggles to read defenses immediately after the snap. That's something I noticed from his reads right out of the gate. His mechanics still, I think, have some work to be done. And similar to a lot of the quarterbacks, I noticed this in a lot of the quarterbacks. Riley Leonard, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, just to name a few. A lot of these guys just struggle under pressure, which is a little concerning to me. Jackson Dart is someone who really struggles under pressure. Gunny, I would like to take a quarterback in the between rounds 4 and 6. So that you're looking at a Kyle McCord. I'm very, very high on Kyle McCord. Let's see where I am on. Where am I? What do I have? Here he is. He's a quick, sharp release, great mechanics. Reminds me, my comp for him, Gunny's Jared Goff, from a size perspective and the way he plays. Okay. Very, very solid pocket passer, elite ball placement while throwing in the pocket. Again, great understanding, velocity, touch, or layers to his ball. Negatives, struggles under pressure. Athleticism isn't too impressive, similar to Jared Goff, and then prone to turnover-worthy plays. So McCord in round 4 is probably my number 1 option right now. If they want to draft a quarterback, Will Howard, if he's there in round 4 from Ohio State. I'm pretty high on, not in round 3, but in round 4. Dylan Gabriel, 6th round, 5th round guy. I mean, let's be real. If he's 6'2", 6'3", we're talking about a top quarterback in this year's draft. I think the size, though, is a massive concern, being 5'10". And, he's listed at 5'10", Gunny, which until we get to the combine.
Like 5'9".
5'8". Yeah,
5'8-ish.
Yeah, 5'9", 5'8". So the size is certainly a concern there, but I would lean McCord right now. I like the safety Xavier Watts in the 2nd round from Notre Dame. Harold Fannin Jr., tight end.
He's nice.
Yeah, Harold Fannin Jr., tight end from Bowling Green. I was doing some mocks the other day. Here's the thing. I'm a huge fan of Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, who's supposed to go pretty high in the first round. I saw some mocks, which was the absolute worst case scenario where Johnson, Graham, Abdul Carter, the three main defensive players, were off the board, alongside Tet McMillan, and those are the four guys who were off the board. So that basically leaves you with like Malachi Starks, Ashton Genty, who they're not taking, Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU. It's like I would at this point, I honestly would not mind taking a safety that high. I know it sounds crazy because safeties technically normally are not picked in the top 10, but if you think about it, we're going to need 4 new safeties next season. Maybe Jalen Mills comes back, but you can't expect anything out of him at this stage in his career, coming off a gruesome injury. Isaiah Oliver. Oh, well, 4 of them are free agents. Oliver gone, Chuck Clark gone. Maybe Tony Adams on the ROFA, but I would say he's pretty much gone. Ashton Davis out the door. Need to revamp the whole safety room. I want the Jets to take 2 safeties in this year's draft. So whether it's going, I know Gunny, it's not a premium position. It gives you kind of the McCagnon flashbacks of going with the safety in round one and 2. But I mean, you give me Xavier Watts from Notre Dame in the 2nd round and R.J. Mickens in the 6th round, the safety out of Clemson, very versatile, big hitter, able to run downhill, stop the run. Gunny, he actually met with the Jets at Shrine Bowl too. Funny, he's the son of Ray Mickens, former Jet. So there's that little connection there. I want true safeties.
Our tight end room as well is shot.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like for me, Tyler Warren is high on my list of dream additions to this team. Again, I think at 7th it's too high,
very high
for him. But I was talking to Dom about this a couple of weeks ago. There really isn't a player in this draft that you can see a team giving up multiple picks, you know what I'm saying, to go ahead and move up for.
Exactly.
I don't think these quarterbacks are franchise guys. I don't think any of them are. From Shador to Jackson, I don't think there's any real franchise guy you look at and you think to yourself, yeah, that dude, I'm going to bet the farm on him. I think the 2026 draft is going to be where we probably find our franchise QB, if I'm being honest. I am with you. I think that Aaron Rodgers winds up being the guy next year. I think a lot of it's going to have to do with him understanding that there is a new Aaron in town. It's not his show anymore. He needs to get with the program. At his big age, is he going to be willing to go ahead and learn a new offense? Because, again, if it's Aaron Rodgers or getting one of the premier options at offensive coordinator, and it's one or the other, give me the offensive coordinator. We'll run it back with Tyrod Taylor for all I care next year. I don't think we go into this season with a sit-in offensive coordinator to appease Aaron Rodgers, freaking old school. His style of play, his offense he wants to run is dead. It's not going to work anymore at the NFL level. Everybody's got the answers to that test. We need to bring it to the 21st century. And for me, I'm taking the offensive coordinator that can do that over Aaron Rodgers 10 times out of 10 times, because I want to see change. But
I'm with you.
If he's willing to adapt and restructure that contract again, and he understands he is the bridge quarterback. You're not the guy, Aaron. You don't have it anymore.
You don't run the show.
You don't run. But you're going to be the bridge guy. I'm okay with them bringing back Aaron Rodgers next year and making a semi-push. Do I think we're going to the Super Bowl? No. But at least it'll be some entertaining football for the season. We'll probably get maybe into the playoffs, because I feel like last year we lost 7 games by 1 possession or less. And I don't think we had a single game last year where we had a coaching advantage. Not one. I really can't look at a single game and thought to myself, man,
the Patriots game. Maybe.
But you would think that. Look how they did us in the second game.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of the games we lost, Gunny, there were 2 games, I think, where they just significantly got outplayed. Like every game the Jets were in this season except the Bills game in week 17 and the Steelers game, I think week 7 or 8 it was. Okay. Other than that, they were in every single game. The main difference between the Jets being 5-12 and 12-5 kicks, you could throw all that nonsense, defense, but coaching, it all stems from coaching. Exactly.
It all comes down to coaching. And that's why I look at it like, okay, a semi-run it back with a legitimate offensive coordinator, a legitimate head coach, a legitimate vision for what this team is supposed to be. And again, Aaron Rodgers being on the same page, I mean, we just saw the Broncos do it with a rookie quarterback after 8 years of being in the freaking gutter.
The key there is rookie quarterback though, who came in and started and impressed, along with a very
True.
stout coaching staff.
And that's what I'm saying. I think coaching staff is going to matter. I also feel like the AFC this season was wide open. I was expecting the AFC to be the juggernaut and the NFC to be the NFC. It was quite the opposite. I don't know what happened this year, but it literally shifted. The powers that be shifted to the NFC as being the juggernaut conference. Literally, there were playoff spots open all the way down to like freaking the last 3 weeks of the season for the AFC.
There were 9 and 8 teams. 9 and 8 teams who got in, yeah.
Yeah. So it goes to show you that the dynamic may have changed. The AFC may be weaker to potentially get an opportunity. So again, lots of rotations happening next year. The AFC East still goes to the Buffalo Bills. Listen, I think it's time that if you were somebody who just didn't want to admit this, Josh Allen is a top 2 QB in the NFL, and it's not even up for debate. Josh Allen carried that roster to the AFC Championship game, and it was him against the world. If you look at that team, that roster, the talent that he had around him,
nothing.
You don't look at that team and think any individual player scares you except for freaking Josh Allen.
James Cook maybe, but none of his pass catchers.
None of the receivers. You're right.
Yeah.
James Cook definitely took another step this year too, so he's put himself in that top tier of running backs. But man, like what he was able to accomplish this year in a year where we all thought like, they're going to have to rebuild. They'll finish third in the division.
I was there.
I was a fool. I bought into it. I thought the same. They ran away with the AFC East. It wasn't even a debate. It was never in contention. It was never in contention. They ran away with it and then took it all the way to the AFC Championship game. And again, came close to potentially a game-tying field goal. What if they don't go for those two two-pointers and they just kick the extra points, right? What if they go for the field goal vice going for it on fourth down? Like, it could be a very different outcome. We'll never know, because they did what they did. But Josh Allen kept him in the game to the very last throw. Dalton Kincaid with the big drop, but Josh Allen put it where only he could have made the play, and somehow a beautiful throw while falling backwards to Dalton Kincaid. We have to go through Buffalo. Josh Allen is going to be a nightmare. Thank goodness he doesn't have the kind of supporting cast, whether it be coaching or players that, a Tom Brady had, but he's playing that level of football in terms of accuracy. He's got a 3-to-1 TD to turnover ratio this season. In the playoffs, he's actually pretty damn elite. Like, it's frustrating to have to admit this, but as long as he's in his prime, the AFC East goes through freaking Buffalo unless we find our Jaden Daniels in the draft sometime in the next couple of years.
I was gonna mention Jaden Daniels, Gunny. I'm in the I'm not in like the main boat here, so to speak, in Jaden Daniels. I hate to say it, he's RG3 2.0. I really feel that way. You can't trot a quarterback out there who's 6'4", 210 pounds, who is built like he's not in the NFL obviously, but Kevin Durant, who's a mobile quarterback. Like, when push comes to shove, there were a few plays in the playoffs where I held my breath. I'm like, is he going to get up? He went out of bounds. He went out of bounds. Like, him and Alex Anzalone, him and Fred Warner, him and Matt Milano going one-on-one. I trust the linebacker all the time. I just don't think his build is well suited for the NFL. Reminds me a lot of RG3, built like a rod. And when he's been on the field, RG3 was a great quarterback when he was on the field, coming off a monster rookie season. The problem is, I understand he's a smart runner, and that's what has pretty much saved Lamar Jackson from being basically has not dealt with any massive injuries throughout his whole career. That's what saved him from not suffering these gruesome leg injuries and all that. So I think Jaden Daniels has to put on some weight this offseason, a solid amount of weight. Like, you can't be 6'4", Gunny, 210 pounds, running all over. It's one thing, even if you're playing the style of football that Jared Goff does, who's strictly a pocket passer. Still, that's still not great compared to someone who's running all over the place, who I would consider more of a run first, pass second quarterback. Like, that's just not sustainable in the NFL. And go back, for sure.
Yeah, no, I get the concern. Like, his size is definitely concerning. I think when he first came out, I was kind of worried. I was just like, man, he's a small cat. Like, I don't know if what he was doing in college is going to really translate to the NFL. And I felt like he potentially had one of the higher ceilings of the quarterbacks in this draft class. My biggest concern was his size. and he made it through the entire season. You know what I'm saying? Good for him. But so did RG3 in his first year. He also won Offensive Rookie of the Year. But those hits do add up eventually. I think putting him in an NFL weight room should, you know what I'm saying, put on some weight. Like he's a young cat, so like now you're in an NFL weight room, NFL diet program, like you should put on some weight. But I don't know how much weight you put on a guy that played the way he did this season, because do you want to throw
10
off
pounds minimum, 10 to 15
That's what I'm saying.
pounds,
10 to
the
15
absolute minimum.
You don't want to go ahead and push it past that because you don't know how it impacts his play, right? Can he handle the extra bulk? Like RG3, RG3's career getting cut short did suck. I ain't gonna lie, because that dude was electric in year one. I was like,
so
man,
fun.
Washington got themselves a dog. Like I thought they got themselves one. But yeah, like he's too tall to be that skinny in the NFL. You're right. He's like a Kevin Durant playing quarterback in the NFL. And that could only end badly if he doesn't go ahead and put on some weight. I think he'll put on some weight, though. I think he'll put on some weight.
He has to. Like, if he wants to play, if he wants to be in the league in 4 years, and even wants to be a starting quarterback in this league, he has to put on weight. There's no excuse. You can't be 6'4", 210 pounds running all over the place.
That's dangerous. Crazy. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your health.
Exactly. And then you have the polar opposite with Aaron Rodgers, who literally is like a statue. That's what I said. Like, the Jets could have potentially won more games if they had someone who was somewhat mobile. There were so many 3rd and 4 plays where Aaron Rodgers would just chuck it away, and I was like, Tyrod Taylor
would have gotten
runs off,
easily.
just takes away, takes off and gets a first down. So for those, I'm a big Tyrod Taylor fan, by the way.
Same here. I love Tyrod Taylor. I'm a huge Tyrod Taylor fan. Health has been his biggest issue. I think that health
when he's on the field, he's an average quarterback.
He's electric.
So people are going to look at the Bills game. They're going to be like, when he came in, they were playing prevent defense. It doesn't matter. He scored 2 touchdowns. What he showed in the game had nothing to do with the defense they were putting on the field. He was making smart decisions, and he was taking off. And I really liked watching him play. He was an average quarterback last year when he was healthy, backing up for the Giants with literally the worst team in the NFL.
Offensive line, worst team, worst support. I'm on board with Tyrod Taylor being the guy if needs to come to that. I think Aaron Rodgers probably offers you a little bit more hope, right? If he can string more of the last 10 games than the first 7 games into next year, maybe he gives you more hope. But I think somebody said it best, man, in the chat. I want to go ahead and highlight that again. And right here, Sharp Instincts. And he says, Aaron Rodgers is all about himself. Aaron Glenn is all about team. Rodgers is gone. Glenn does not believe in the QB that won't stay in the pocket and take a hit, a la Jared Goff. He stood in the pocket. I think there's some truth to that, man. I think that Aaron Rodgers right now, I don't know if he has the ability to go ahead and be humble, right? Or take a step back, right? And again, Aaron Glenn's been in the league for a minute. I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to look at himself as potentially being an equal. I think there's going to be some butting heads there. Mm-hmm. I still think somehow that Aaron Rodgers winds up being the guy. I think they give him a shot
I'm with you.
at being the guy. But I agree with you in the fact that I just don't know if he'll last an entire season. I don't. No. I don't actually know if Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback of the New York Jets for the entire season. I think if he's not able to go ahead and show a level of humility, stepping back, adapting to the new offense and new scheme, it wouldn't surprise me if by the end of week 4, Aaron Rodgers is benched.
Yeah. Another thing, you're gonna need to be able to bench him. Because that was 100%. One of the things last year. You had old Brick Sala had no control over the locker room, so he was just going. He could have literally been on one leg, and he said, "I'm going to play." He would have played. Seriously, that's how
100%.
Old Brick and Sala literally had no control over the locker room. So you're going to need to be able to bench him at any time. And what you mentioned about Tyrod Taylor there, that goes back to my plan. If you want to start Tyrod Taylor, I'm okay with it 1,000%. But if they want to draft a quarterback, okay. But I want to add Justin Fields in free agency then. Andy Dalton, a Jacoby Brissett to just so when Tyrod goes down, because we know we're not getting 17 games out of Tyrod.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen at some point or another. You just have to have someone in line who's serviceable to back you up. Back what you said though about Aaron Rodgers getting benched, and I said that they're going to have to bench him at some point. I think he might play until a point where they get officially eliminated from the playoffs, whether that be in week 17, whether that be in week 12. So Go ahead.
I don't know if Aaron Glenn allows it to get that out of hand. I think at the very least, Aaron Glenn, if he sees things getting out of hand, he's going to know that a statement needs to be made about his expectations and that Aaron Rodgers is not going to go ahead and take away from what he's told the team. And if Aaron Rodgers is not playing up to par or playing team ball, I can see him using this as an example. You know what? Even Aaron Rodgers isn't above this team. I can see him taking that approach.
Good
and that's
point.
why I say, like, if by week 4, Aaron Rodgers is not showing that ability to go ahead and play team ball, listen to the play calls being done. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he's showing just a blatant disrespect to the game plan or whatever the case might be, I could see Aaron Glenn. I mean, sometimes you got to shoot a hostage. I've used this before. You know, people act a fool and whatnot. They don't think you're going to do it. You got to shoot a hostage to go ahead and get their attention. What bigger hostage do you have than benching Aaron Rodgers?
Exactly.
If you have to go ahead and literally get a spark to turn things around, you bench Aaron Rodgers, you bring in Tyrod or Justin Fields, whoever you have, you know what I'm saying, in the weeds. And I think that can set a tone. Even if they lose every game for the rest of the season.
Sending a message.
The fact that Aaron Glenn exactly made it known that you're not above the team will send a better message for long-term New York Jets culture building. So that's why I don't think he'll let him go to when we're out of the playoffs, especially if he's not playing Aaron Glenn football.
What if he's playing Aaron Glenn football and it's defensive collapses and it's, missed kicks again, poor clock management? Like I think if Aaron Rodgers comes back, he's going to play the majority of the season. Let's be real. We're talking about the Jets wanting Rodgers. It still remains unclear if Rodgers wants the Jets or Rodgers still wants to play
This is
football.
true.
Like we're talking from the Jets
true.
perspective. Do they want Aaron Rodgers back? It's still unclear if Aaron Rodgers is going to want the Jets. Moreover, if he's going to want the NFL, if he's going to want to play football again. Because at this point,
That's a good point.
he's not playing for money. He's playing for the love of the game. So
Yeah. Or legacy.
Yeah,
Or legacy.
But again, at the same time, I can see him being like, every year I stick in the league, I'm just ruining my legacy snap by snap. At the same time, like the way he performed last season was pretty embarrassing.
Think about this, though. So Aaron Rodgers, I believe, is 8 touchdowns behind Brett Favre for third all-time in touchdown passes.
Yeah, he also throws the most. I don't think he cares about that personally. I'm just gonna say that. I think he wanted to get to 500, but people are going crazy over the 24 touchdowns. Guys, he finished second in passing attempts. Second in passing attempts in the league. You're prone to throw that many touchdowns. You finished second in passing attempts. He also threw a handful of interceptions, which
He did.
just get ignored right away. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Connor, as we come down to the wire here, man, I got to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
First question, who was the quarterback for the New York Jets for the 2025 season?
Okay. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. All right. You don't see any surprise that might come out of nowhere. You think if you had to bet the house right now, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I do think it is Aaron Rodgers next season, but like you said, if it gets out of hand at a point, I could see someone coming in like Tyrod Taylor to kind of attempt to clean up that mess. It's so tough. I think Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but what Mougey and Glenn said yesterday kind of point in the direction of not wanting Rodgers back in the sense of sustained success was a massive talking point for Aaron Glenn.
Yep.
You're not getting that with Aaron Rodgers. And I heard a lot from Mougey in the limited time that he spoke, drafting and developing players.
Yep.
But at the same time, there are not many top. It's just literally. I think you could flip a coin right now if it's Aaron Rodgers or someone else. It's so tough. If Brian Flores is, if Josh McCown is the head coach, if Josh McCown's the head coach of the team, good riddance, Aaron Rodgers. He knows that's happening. It's a first-time defensive mind, though. That's the one problem that I have. I see Wildwave in the chat saying, I'll say Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker's a name I floated around not too long ago. It was a potential trade candidate if Glenn were to land the job. Who knows? Like, it could get Hendon Hooker. If Hendon Hooker is not one person is going to renew their season tickets except like Fireman Ed and Jetman or whatever. I don't think he's ever taken a snap in the NFL. And this just shows how uncomfortable the Lions were with Hendon Hooker. He was a 4th round pick. He's been injured for a little while. But Teddy Bridgewater came out of retirement, he was coaching high school football to sign a contract with the Lions as their backup quarterback for the playoffs. Hendon Hooker was the backup all year, and he must have been pissed when. Remember, Teddy Bridgewater had to come into the game for like a drive or two during during their playoff game. Hendon Hooker's probably like, I've been here for 2 years.
I've been here the whole
time.
I've watched this offense. I've practiced this offense.
Exactly.
Yeah, it says a lot about his abilities. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I would be all on board with a Justin Fields acquisition. Same. I saw the New York Jets just rose for some reason in the odds to get Chris Olave.
Oh, wow.
In the
Where?
building.
Bet US?
Did you see that? On Bet US, he just rose for the New York Jets being the top landing spot for him via trade. Could you imagine bringing in Justin Fields, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson into the building? We've already got the chemistry aspect down with these guys. They've complemented each other ridiculously. If Justin Fields if you can cater the offense to Justin Fields' ability to be a dual threat, and I know a lot of people hate Justin Fields because of what they saw with the Chicago Bears. Nobody ever wants to admit the fact that every single year the kid got better with horrible coaching, with no offensive line, with no weapons. Caleb Williams is the one that got all the weapons, the offensive line, and all the help.
All the toys,
Justin Fields did not have any of those toys, and still every single year he found a way to go ahead and get better as a quarterback. I would love to see what Justin Fields looks like with potentially better coaching. And an offense kind of geared towards him. And if you're telling me Chris Olave just rose to the top of the charts to be the New York Jets trade for wide receiver, I think that would go a long way in keeping a guy like Garrett Wilson. Oh, another thing. If Garrett Wilson tells freaking Aaron Glenn and Darren that, listen, if you guys want to keep Aaron Rodgers, I understand. But for me, I think I'm going to want to go ahead and go somewhere else next year. Then Aaron Rodgers has to go. I'm taking Garrett Wilson over Aaron Rodgers all day.
I'm with you 1,000% there, Gunny, but here's the thing. I think if Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey really, really feel that Aaron Rodgers puts the Jets in the best position to win, you tell Garrett Wilson, Garrett, we love you. You can request a trade all you want. Color. Yeah. We don't really care. We have you under contract this season. We have your 5th-year option next year. And then we can talk about extent. We have we could put a franchise tag on you if we don't extend you by then. We could put a second franchise tag on you. Exactly. We own you for the next 3 to 4 years, not counting in an extension. So sit down and go to work. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to Garrett Wilson. If they feel Aaron Rodgers puts them in the best chance to win, he can request a trade all he wants. The Jets have the leverage here. It's not like he's on an expiring deal and he, has a lot of trade value. No. I don't care if he requests a trade. If they feel and they look and they say, Aaron Rodgers gives us the best chance to win this Super Bowl in 2025, I do not care what Garrett Wilson says. I really don't.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
I just want to win, man. I just want to see some competent football. At this point, however it happens, it happens. I would love to see some competent football, please. So you said Aaron Rodgers. So my second question for you is, who are the New York Jets picking with their first pick?
So tough. Who do I want them to pick versus who I think they will pick? Who I want them to pick, Ted McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona State. I think I watched 4 of his games just because I was so obsessed with this film. Reminds me of T. Higgins with more upside. I think he's 6'4", 212 or 6'5",
ran a 4.4 140. Yeah. How?
Best body control you'll ever see.
Routes, bruh.
Hands
that kid
catches
don't make
everything.
Sense. Everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't make any sense. Like, you get the big body guys. Usually they're kind of clunky. They don't like Megatron was like the weird guy that he was 6'6", 240 pounds, ran a 4.38 40, and he could run crisp routes. Like, how is it humanly? You're an alien, and I feel like Tez got some alien to him. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, he's
got some aliens.
he's crazy. Ted McMillan for sure. So great hands, catches everything. Yeah, no, you're good. Great hands, great route running, insane body control. I don't think he'll be there at 7.
No,
whatever.
I don't
7.
think so either.
Who I think they are gonna pick. A few scenarios. I'll give you my top 3. The 3, I'll give you my main one. I say Will Campbell is a sleeper to watch. I could see the Jets wanting to round out the offensive line if they were to trade back. Malachi Stark spoke about him. Potentially Tyler Warren. If I had to make a pick today, I think it makes too much sense for the Jets not to pick Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan, if he's on the table. but still, it's so early. Like it's so early just because we don't know which teams are interested in trading up or down. This year's interesting because, let's say Shedeur somehow, he falls down boards as the draft approaches, and some team wants to come up with the Jets and draft Shedeur, and the Jets get a haul to move back to like pick 17 or something like that. Problem is, Gunny, after the last year's draft class, we didn't realize it at the time, but looking back now, that class was absolutely loaded. Like there were 5th round picks who I felt could come in and be significant role players in the NFL. Now I'm looking at this draft class and it's like, I feel like there's 10 to 12 guys who I look at in the top 10 to top 12. And I'm like, they can come in and make a significant impact. Top heavy was the word that Connor Rogers used. And I really, really agree with that. It's so tough to predict because seeing how this top 6 will shake out is going to be really interesting because I've done so many different mock. The worst case scenario is Ted is off the board. Abdul, Mason Graham, Will Johnson are off the board along with the 2 quarterbacks because then you're basically in no man's land.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to want to come up because there's no quarterback there.
There's no reason to.
And then your best player available at that point is Malachi Starks, who I really liked. But again, fans are going to riot if they pick a safety at 7.
That's too high,
That's
bro.
going to happen.
Yeah, I think people will lose their minds. People will lose their minds.
And then Will Campbell, at the same, I don't think Tyler Warren would be the right pick there, but he would certainly get the fan base the most excited. Like, just think about all those people who wanted Brock Bowers. I think Tyler Warren would kind of rev up the fan base.
Appease them a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. There aren't any exciting names. Like, I felt like last year we were talking about the Malik Neighbors, Romo Dunze, all these
so
guys.
many options. So many
Exactly.
options. And now it's just like, well.
Mason Graham, yeah. It's crazy.
Well, next week, definitely we're going to have Dom on, man. I'm going to go ahead and talk to you offline, bring you on as well, man. We'll talk the options because I think the draft now is, of course, the next thing we're all looking forward to. We're still waiting on the announcement for our OC and DC. DC is going to be still Steve Wilkes. Like, I know it hasn't been announced yet, but somehow there was a story on it on Sports Illustrated.
I saw that. You tweeted that.
I tweeted it, yeah. There was a story on it. Then there was a it's already updated in his Wikipedia. Like, so something's already been decided behind the scenes and they don't want to go ahead and say it out loud. That's fine. Steve Wilkes, I'm okay with. OC is going to be important. I think we're all kind of holding our breath to see which route they go. Because I think the offensive coordinator position right now is going to be key for sure into how successful this team can be. But yeah, man, I appreciate you for coming on. I'm glad you got the jersey, man. Appreciate you for letting me know.
Thanks so much for it. Appreciate it.
And yeah, man, tell the folks, man, when you're going to be on next, because I know you've been doing a lot of breaking news videos lately.
Gunny, first off, appreciate you having me. Smash the like, subscribe for our guy Gunny. You heard him at the top of the show, 2,000 subscribers. He deserves it. So smash the like, subscribe for him, completely free. Helps us. Gunny, smashing the like. I was just reading about it the other day. It's like a content creator on like the YouTube help site or whatever. Like smashing the like button and subscribing helps the channel grow so much just because, like, let's say you have 300 people in a stream. You have 300, 400 people, and 298 of them like the video. That's just going to show YouTube that, wow, it's completely free. You're supporting the show. That's your way to contribute. People are enjoying the content. And then #Jets comes up. They're going to spread the show out to everyone. So smash the like for Gunny, subscribe, helps them grow. Like I said, appreciate you having me on as always. You can find me NY Flight Jets Talk on YouTube, at Connor_Long15 on Twitter. On the YouTube show, NY Flight Jets Talk. We've been doing pretty much daily shows for the past month or two. So we're trying to, I didn't want to make it officially daily just because I think that would put like too much pressure on myself to have to do the shows compared to where I can miss a day or two now if I don't want to say daily if something pops up. So yeah, we're doing pretty much every day over there. So definitely check that out. Appreciate you. Gunny, appreciate you hopping on as always, and looking forward to next week's Hangar Hangout. It's crazy to think you're approaching a year here of these episodes. As I see episode 40.
Yeah, man, I was saying the same thing. I was just like, wow. I remember the first time I made the attempt at doing the live streams, and it lasted all of like 2 months because life happens, man. Once you miss one, you miss two, and then it becomes hard to maintain.
Like a snowball rolling down the hill.
It snowballs, exactly. But I'll say this, meeting content creators like yourself has made it more fun because we get to go ahead and just pretty much do a lot of collabs. And RE Stream has made streaming so easy for me that it's just, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like the ability to use RE Stream, I think also has made it fun.
Okay.
Everything's kind of done for me already. I got my studios built out. I got my breaking news studio, my Tuesday night show studio. So like now it's just get on there, plug in my freaking my thumbnail, what we're gonna talk about. No excuses. So I do like that aspect too. Ari Stream kind of like forces me to go ahead and stay in check.
Yeah, Gunny, I've been a StreamYard guy since I started. I have to I don't know, I'm just so used to it, so I've been using it forever now.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Like there's
It
so
is.
much there's not as much customization. You can still do some stuff in there, but I just like the fact that I can just turn on my laptop, go live whenever,
go.
and
Yep.
yeah, just go. I have the chat, know how to pull it up. Problem is they actually doubled their prices, which is super annoying. Gunny.
What?
Yeah, so it happened about a few months ago. There was so for example, the $20 tier there was a $30 tier actually. So it's $0, which you have to pay, I think, if you want to be a legit streamer, just because it has like the little logo in the corner, the like powered by StreamYard logo, and then you can't really do much in there. You get limited hours per month.
Yep.
So if you were on the $30 plan, you were now paying $60. And then if you're on the $50 plan, you're now paying $100. So yeah, I've been looking at other it's crazy to think. I've been looking on other sites. I was thinking about joining the RE stream. I tried Streamlabs.
I tried Streamlabs too. I wasn't a fan.
It's so hard. Because
it's so complicated.
Yeah, you could get so many things in there. I had it all set up. Yeah, I set it up all one show, and I was smart just because I had a feeling it was gonna crash. So I set up a StreamYard link for the show too, in case it didn't work.
Just in case.
And this show, I had a guest, and I get in there, I had everything set up. The guest came in. I had like the column thing on the other monitor. I brought him over. And it's like I could see him, everyone saw him, but we couldn't hear him. We couldn't hear each other. It's like he couldn't hear me. I heard him, he couldn't hear me. Whole thing. So I just went back to StreamYard. I tried that about like a month or two ago. So StreamYard, maybe I'll look into the RA stream. I'll
tell you right now, bro. I've tried StreamYard. I've done OBS. I've done Ecamm.
Ecamm? I don't think I've seen anyone do Ecamm before.
Ecamm is awesome. It is, but it's too much. It's too much.
Okay.
It's way too much going on. Like unless you have a group of people in backstage to do, it's just too much for a one-man show, bro. I was just like, as great as it looks, the quality was amazing. The sound was like it was top tier, but you couldn't really engage with the audience. Like you had to be doing stuff constantly while you're talking, and I had to let it go. I was like, yep, tried it, can't do it. And then I found RE Stream, and then I was just like, it has a lot of what Streamlabs does. The quality in terms of like video of Ecamm, because I look crisp as heck like during my podcast. I've been told that 1,000 times.
You have like that 4K, that 4K.
Exact, right? And Ecamm used to do that too. So I was just like, all right, so RE Stream has been the best of both worlds. And yeah, man, I just paid for the yearly subscription for it, man. And I only paid the $400 for the yearly subscription.
Oh, wow.
You save a lot if you just do it all up front. And I was
the problem is I'm always hesitant to pay yearly because then I feel I'm not going to use it. But there's so many subscriptions where it's like I pay monthly and then I just forget about them and then I get notified I have them and it's like I just go back and cancel them because
you cancel them.
And it's so annoying to the point where it's like I just paid this money for for the subscription and now I haven't used it forever and now I have to go back.
That's the worst.
I have to cancel it. So I'll definitely look into RE Stream for sure. I do monthly basically every single subscription that I have. Okay. So I'll for sure I'll look into it. And like I said, Gunny, appreciate you having me on as always. Appreciate and go Jets.
Go Jets, man. Have a good night.
You too. Peace.
All right, later. So that was Connor, man. I appreciate him jumping on and talking Jets with us. Listen, I think there's a lot to be excited about. I really do. I feel like ultimately what this hangout was about giving this a chance. A lot of individuals are already giving up on the New York Jets. I mean, listen, you're a Jets fan. The very definition of fanatic is to look upon something with extreme zeal. So get on board. That's our coach now. This is our GM now. It can get better. It happens all across the NFL. It's gotten better for the Lions. It's gotten better for the Denver Broncos. It's gotten better for the Texans. It can get better. We've seen this formula kind of work before. And I, for one, am jumping on board. Again, I'm not screaming Super Bowl. I'm not saying we're going to lead the AFC East, but I feel like we should be in the cards for some competent football, some good football in 2025. And you never know what happens, you know what I'm saying, once the season gets going, get some momentum going. So That's the show, man. Again, Connor said it best, man. Again, if you're watching me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, everyone's got a YouTube account. If you got a Gmail email, which 99% of you do, everyone's got a YouTube account. Jump on YouTube real quick, like the show, and then subscribe. It really helps us out, man. It helps the algorithm quite a bit to get this show out to other like-minded individuals. And again, once we get to 2K, we're going to be giving away an autographed Joe Namath jersey. It's even got the years in which he played. Listen, this is a top-tier jersey. I've been saving this for a special occasion, and that special occasion is going to be 2K subscribers, and I'm going to give it to one of y'all. It's actually better than my Joe Namath jersey. I actually contemplated on swapping this one out for that one, and then I said no, let's just keep it 100. Like, this is going to a lucky fan of my first 2,000 subscribers. So again, like and subscribe, and then you're entered. Obviously, once we do the giveaway, you'll be given the rules on how to go ahead and potentially win, and then we'll take it from there. But listen, Aaron Glenn's our new head coach. You know, there's a new regime in town, and I feel like after all we've been through, it can only go up. It can't possibly get worse, right? I'm going to knock on wood because I feel like you don't want to really test that. But it can only go up. I think that we're going to go ahead and be pleasantly surprised with how this season turns out. I'm pumped for it. I can't wait for the season to get here. I can't wait for the draft to get here. Kind of see how everything kind of plays out. The draft is going to be a nail biter this season because I feel like we're going to have to be very strategic in order to get any kind of players that can beat like year one impacts. But one of the perks about that is we've got a GM and a head coach that started off in the scouting realm. So they have an eye for talent, which is a plus. So again, that's the show. I urge you to like and subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending your Tuesday night with me and Connor talking about the New York Jets. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Instagram, I appreciate y'all. Have a good night. And yeah, as always, go Jets.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
But here's what I do know. We're the freaking